Everyone is standing up right and ready when we teleport into the dungeon. The raid has been automatically disbanded, and some of the people are even running upon entering, which is an interesting trick. I suppose someone could also already be swinging their weapon when they enter. Everyone knows where the door with the branching hallways is, and just about everyone bolts to it. Elliot, Hannah, Jesse, Julian, Polly, and myself let ourselves lag behind.
We need to hurry. What are you guys doing?
Polly asks.
Let them trip over themselves. The admins have told us over and over how big this place is. There will be plenty of stuff for all of us to fight.
Jesse tells him. Arriving at the hallways, I get an urge to high-five Jesse and Julian, but remember that will party us up. So instead, I make eye contact with each of them and nod. Jesse nods back. They go down the hallway to the right. I start to go down the center one, but Elliot puts a hand on my shoulder. Once they get out of earshot, he tells me,
We're going to go the same way as them, but I don't want Julianne to know. They might need our help, but he won't appreciate hearing it.
I pass around a few stramatos, and I find myself lost in thought while we eat. What if I did choose a different race? I don't want to, but the admins did tell us human is the weakest race. If I had to choose between being a Foxian and dying, I would absolutely choose to be a Foxian. Or an Aviaka. Everyone has dreamed of flying. How many times would being able to take to the sky save my life? Surely I would get used to whatever they eat.
I guess.
Elliot says. At first, I have an odd feeling that he could read my mind, but he starts walking down the hallway, and I realize he meant he guesses it's a good enough time to go. The hallway is uncomfortably narrow at first. Both my shoulders brush the walls. Then after 30 feet, the floor slopes down, and to the right then levels off and widens until the three of us can walk side by side, bringing us to a ladder that goes down. A long, long ways. Like 200 feet. I probably haven't mentioned yet that I'm afraid of heights. I am. Elliot and I share a look. We are definitely thinking the same thing. I shake my head slightly. Hannah walks to the precipice, gets down on her knees, grabs the top rung, takes a step onto the ladder, and another descending one, and another. I close my eyes and think, why can't it just be more skeletons? When I open my eyes again, there's enough room for me to start the descent. I try to turn my brain off and just do it. My hands and legs are shaking, and I have to remind myself to breathe. For every breath. Once we get down about 50 feet, I stop. I hear a voice in my head say, "Don't look down." I do anyway. I feel like I'm going to pass out. The fear has me gripped. But I keep breathing, and I keep looking down. Only Hannah is below me now, and she's still going. There are no bodies at the bottom, so everyone else who went this way made it. I breathe. I look up and can't see Elliot's face, but he has stopped several feet above me. He must be feeling patient enough. I look back down and my legs begin shaking anew. I hadn't realized they ever stopped. I hold for another minute, and as time passes, the fear begins to fade. I stop shaking and gain a hint of confidence. I continue the climb down, and when I reach the bottom, I feel on top of the world. Now that I'm safe, I can feel the adrenaline coursing through my body, and it feels good. The hallway leads to an open door, and beyond it, I can see what appears to be a pyramid.
Not so bad, was it?
Nah, I lie. I walk into the next room, and if I thought the chamber before the hallways was big, this is absolutely ginormous. There are 25 rows of 25 pyramids spanning the distance of the room, each roughly 150 feet tall. The blocks that make them up are 10 by 10 cubes until you get to the top, where there is a ruby red capstone. They all look identical, as if they made one and copy-pasted the rest. We walk to the entrance of the first one and hear shouts and sounds of battle from up the stairs. A skeleton's head bounces down to us.
Well, this one seems occupied.
Elliot says. So are the next two, but we get the fourth one all to ourselves. The stone these pyramids are made out of is different than what I've seen in the rest of the dungeon. If I had to guess, I would say these are made of quartz. The stairs have grooves in them, as if they have been walked on for hundreds of years. 3 skeletons await just inside before the stairs. Elliot initiates combat, lashing out with his whip, wrapping around a skeleton's pelvic bone and pulling it off its feet, causing it to break into a dozen pieces upon hitting the ground. I send my staff forward like it's a pool cue and get a skeleton right where its eye would have been, busting through the back of its skull. Hannah, still weaponless, goes up to the last skeleton and pushes it hard against the wall, doing the most damage out of all of us. We start up the stairs, and I wonder why we have all been so quiet. Perhaps I'm just focused on the task at hand. The stairs are shaped like a LE, leading us to the next room. Just as we get to the 90-degree turn, 3 skeletons collide into us. I instinctively pull my staff up from its resting position and break through the rib bones on the left side of the one that directly ran into me. Its jawbone opens wide as if it's yelling at me and swings its right arm at me. I go to counter it with the top of my staff and break its arm. I swing the bottom of the staff inward toward it next and break its back in 2, effectively killing it. Or disabling, I suppose. It was already dead. Hannah recovers from being knocked down a few steps and pulls a skeleton's feet out from under it, causing it to fall. Elliot picks up the skeleton next to him, throws it on top of that one, destroying both. As 3 more skeletons plow into me, I have my staff held diagonally to block their way, but I don't have enough room to swing it the way I want to on the narrow stairs. The closest skeleton kicks me hard in the shins, and I let out a yelp as its foot shatters. Go back down, I say through gritted teeth. We get back to the bottom and form a semicircle like we did in the chamber yesterday, and the first few skeletons go down quickly. But with the next group, when Hannah throws the skeleton against the wall, it doesn't shatter. It doesn't even stutter. Instead, it pushes itself off the wall, finding steady feet, and locks its empty eye sockets on Hannah as it maneuvers back to her. Elliot gets his whip around a rib of the next descending skeleton and pulls forward. Instead of coming apart, he yanks it off the stairs and into the room with us. The skeleton Hannah is fighting throws a left hook at her cheek, and she lets out a scream when she is hit. Her health bar goes down to 80%. Before another skeleton can fill the place of the one Elliot pulled away, I swing my staff hard like a baseball bat at the head of Hannah's skeleton in the room. The skull cracks, but it hurts my hands. It turns and looks at me. I pull the staff back and swing again, this time breaking the skull, and the skeleton falls. Elliot's skeleton flings itself at him, knocking him to the ground. His health bar loses a sizable chunk as well. Elliot's back is on the ground, and the skeleton has its skull right up to his like 2 fighters getting ready to box. Elliot pushes it up a little and bites onto its neck, then swings his head back and forth like a dog with a toy. The bone breaks and the skeleton becomes inanimate. 3 more skeletons come down the stairs and are trying to push themselves past the others to get to us. This isn't looking good, I say as we back towards the entrance.
There's a way. The admins knew we would be coming here today. They challenge us, but they are not actually trying to kill us.
I slam my staff into the knee of the closest skeleton, and the leg buckles, but it keeps coming at us.
Why are these ones so much stronger?
They might be summoned rather than regular mobs.
I wonder how the other groups are doing. If we exit the pyramid, Are we going to find the courtyard filling up with mobs from the other surely overwhelmed groups? We have to get to the top.
We'll never get through.
Then let's lead them out to the open and run back inside. We exit the pyramid and find the other two groups have indeed fallen back outside as well. We go all the way to the wall in front of the pyramid as the skeletons stream out. There is easily 15 of them. In this light, I notice they have more of a golden look rather than the plain brittle look the other skeletons have had. We skirt left along the wall, and the stream shifts to follow us, but they stop coming out of the pyramid. We move to the side of the pyramid next to the one we've been fighting in, and they all follow. Then we run behind that one, behind and around ours, then back inside. In the lead, I ascend floor after floor. I can hear Elliot and Hannah right behind me. Every floor is empty, and after a minute, I feel we must be getting near the top when we exit the stairs and are confronted by a wooden door. I desperately want to kick it open, but I stop and begin to examine the edges of it. It seems like I can feel the impatience behind me, but we all know this is necessary. At the top right of the door, I find a tiny string, almost like fishing wire attached to the door leading to a hole drilled into the door frame. I really need a knife. Since I don't have one, I pinch the wire where it attaches to the door and pull it toward the hole. I'm almost ready to give up when it snaps free. My heart skips, thinking I might have yanked the wire out a little ways, but it doesn't detonate. I turn the metal door handle. It's cold and the door inches open. I grip my staff in both hands and charge forward, opening the door with the end of it. Inside is a tall, gray-skinned man in jet-black robes. He is balding but has long hair, giving him a crazed look. He's chanting something and waving his arms in a motion that suggests to me he's casting a spell. Just before the end of my staff hits him in the solar plexus, a ruby necromancer has cast sleep on you. Appears in front of me. I think the outside was ruby red and I lose consciousness.
It feels like I was only out for a split second, but I can see blue sky, and Hannah's face is looking down at me. She seems just a little different. She has the same short cropped hair, but it's a little thicker. Her eyebrows look trimmed. Is her nose smaller? Her complexion looks younger. Goodness shit, I say as I rub my eyes with a hand that looks a little too big. Hannah blinks in surprise. I hear Elliot laugh and say,
I told you he would sound different.
so I missed the race key deadline.
Yes, but don't worry too much. You're still human, and it doesn't look like I'll be calling you sister. But
She trails off and holds up a mirror. You sound different too. I am relieved to see I am still very human, but my skin is a little darker. My hair is longer, perhaps 4 or 5 inches and brushed back. It is dark brown but graying. I have a short, meticulously trimmed beard, which is also graying that covers a strong jawline. I jump to my feet and look down. I am definitely taller, probably only by a few inches, but I can see the extra distance to the ground as much as I can feel it. I'm all around bigger. I have more muscle too. I'm not bodybuilder big, but bigger and more toned. I cross my arms and feel muscles in my biceps that I have never felt before. Whoa, I say. Hannah is grinning at me.
I'd say you got pretty lucky. I thought for sure if we didn't get a race key, we would end up as an aviaca and have to eat worms or something.
It's strange. The voice coming out of me doesn't sound like me. My reflection doesn't look like me. Even my body doesn't really feel like me. But I feel like me in my head. It's like I'm wearing a costume. Good point. I wonder if my taste buds will be different though.
Yeah, and don't you think it will feel kind of gay the first time you...
Where did you get the mirror? I interrupt.
When you activate the race key, you get one of these in your inventory. At first, it had a user interface on it for basically a character builder. Once you set your appearance and click submit, you fall asleep for a few minutes and wake up a new person. At least it was a few minutes for me. I wonder if it would have been longer if I chose more drastic changes.
Interesting. It's neat that they let you keep the mirror. What else happened after I went to sleep? How did you defeat the necromancer?
After you went down, he started to cast another spell, so I punched him in the throat. And he couldn't say the words anymore. Elliot finished him off after that. The next ones were even easier.
The next ones, you say?
Yeah, you're not going to believe it. We thought every pyramid was the same. There would be the train of skeletons, then the necromancer behind the door ready to cast sleep. So, we would run the skeletons around outside, rush up the stairs, knock on the door, then go back downstairs, and it would take a few minutes of fighting the skeletons on the stairs. But both times the necromancer eventually opened the door and detonated the trap, effectively offing himself.
I laugh. That's brilliant. Do you think it was meant to work like that?
Elliot says, maybe, maybe not, but that the admins have never admitted to a glitch, so as far as anyone is concerned, it was fair game.
But how long did that take? You must have had what? Several hours left in the dungeon after I passed out.
Right. It turned out they weren't all like that. Us and Jesse's group were trading off every other pyramid. The other group would stay out of aggro in case we needed help. And it's a good thing too, because on the 7th pyramid, the necromancer never came. Eventually we disarmed the trap, and it was just a room full of skeletons. Jesse, Julian, and Polly helped clear the stairwell for us to get back out.
Wait, where was I during this?
At this point, you were outside by the wall.
I mean, what else were they supposed to do with me? I see.
Anyway, we get back outside and start to kite the skeletons around when the rest start leaving their pyramids and aggroing us. So Jesse and Elliot pick you up by your hands and feet, and we all beeline it back to the ladder. At which point, they put you over Jess's shoulder and we all ascend back up the ladder. At first, the skeletons can't seem to figure out how to use the ladder. They just sort of paw at it and watch us. But then one of them figures it out and starts climbing, and the rest follow. Elliot was the last one going up, and I thought for sure they were going to get him. But he started whipping at them and knocked a few off while Jesse heaved you up, one slow rung after another. Finally, we get to the top, and the skeletons keep coming. But they're not very good with the ladder, so they're easy to knock off once their heads come over the ledge. The fall is far enough that even the tougher ones die on impact. The party of the person who pushes them over would get experience. We did this all day. Look at your level. You got shared party experience even though you were unconscious.
I look at my stats, and sure enough, I'm level 15 now. Elliot steps into the hut.
You say that so nonchalantly. I don't think you are realizing the magnitude of the situation. You are way over-leveled now. Your two parties can rock pretty much anything on this floor without breaking a sweat.
Interesting. I thought I felt different because of the new body.
That's likely true. Your current race roll probably has higher base stats than what you came in with. But the difference your level makes is a lot more significant. When you level up, all of your stats go up. You will deal a lot more damage and receive less, plus you'll resist more low-level spells. That necromancer probably wouldn't be able to cast sleep on you now. Mind you, a higher level one could, but you don't know the best part of leveling up yet. It's the abilities you gain that will change your lives. I haven't been able to use my abilities, but tomorrow you will get to select your classes, hopefully, and when you do, I should get mine back as well.
I remember you saying you were nerfed. I've been meaning to ask you about that.
Right. My strength was artificially reduced to about what you newbies are. They wanted me in the dungeon, but they couldn't have me in here protecting you guys with superhuman toughness. As you grow stronger, so will I. Even though the experience points we're getting don't add much to my actual level. What it takes for you guys to go to level 20 is a drop in the bucket on my way from level 47 to level 48.
You're only level 47. I figured, having already run the dungeon, you would be in the hundreds.
No, the cap is 50. It gets a lot harder in later levels, and I won't call it an exploit, so let's say the stroke of luck you guys encountered today has likely skewed your judgment on the difficulty of leveling. Level 50 is the cap for players.
But not for NPCs?
No, the highest I've seen is level 60, but theoretically they have no cap.
Copy that. Also, wasn't there another group or two of people down there?
I think so, but neither us nor Jesse saw where they went. They must have gone farther in rather than back up the ladder. The only time I saw them was when we were going down the ladder.
With a thud, the new bulletin appears.
What a day this was! I hope everyone is enjoying their new bodies. You all overcame some great challenges today and have grown because of it. Tomorrow, if possible, is going to be an even bigger day. Everyone will be fighting a boss monster, which will be a first for most of you. Bosses drop the best loot and therefore are a big risk. You won't be able to do this alone, but this boss cannot be done as a raid. Only the party who engages it will get the loot. If your guide is worth his salt, he will tell you to have a full party. Usually, you will have to kill the boss before you know what it has for loot, making it harder to evaluate the risk versus reward. But for this one, we can tell you everyone will receive a class change key. Since you don't have a class yet, this will let you pick one. Yes, there will be future class change keys, but they are very rare. Not many people will ever see another one, so choose carefully. We have worked hard to balance each class, but choose one that aligns with your strengths and interests. Your choices will be Fighter. All weapons and armor come naturally to you, can stand toe-to-toe with any baddie. No magic, but your party won't survive without you. Healer. You can choose any weapon and you won't be very good with it. But you cast the best healing spells. You keep your party members alive. Elementalist. No melee or ranged weapons, but you have access to all elemental magic. You work hard to unlock it all, but this class does great damage dealer and is a crowd controller. Pathfinder. Proficient in most melee and ranged weapons, but your true benefit to the party is detecting traps, tracking mobs, lockpicking, disarming traps, finding quest update locations, etc. Every party needs one. Woodsman, a bow, a melee weapon, one elemental magic line. You are a little stealthy and a damage dealer. A lady can be a woodsman. Don't get caught up on the name. Those are your choices. If you don't like them, tough shit. Huh, just kidding. You can learn skills outside your class. It will just take longer and you won't have access to all the same abilities. To mix things up a bit, you can make a lot of unique builds, but don't pick fighter if you want to be a healer. You will always be weaker than someone who focuses on their class skills. If you don't find a class key, you will be assigned a random class.
There's always a moment of silence after a bulletin. I'm the first to speak this time. What class are you, Elliot?
I am a Pathfinder.
So we shouldn't choose that.
I wouldn't say that. It's a great class, and two Pathfinders can be handy. They can be solving different problems at the same time. Plus, I could always die. You shouldn't rule out any class. They are all good. Just choose what you think you'll like the most.
I think I want to be a fighter or an elementalist.
Those are two very different classes.
Yeah, I figure I'm already good at the fighting business, but who can pass up on magic? I really expected a letter inviting me to wizard school when I turned 11.
I breathe in the crisp mountain air and exhale. I want to be a woodsman.
Seems fitting.
We make a dinner out of stramatos that Elliot gathered up and before bed. We promise ourselves we will find something better to eat for dinner tomorrow night.